So Holger, why don't you start by sharing some of your thoughts? Because I know one thing that you've really emphasized is the fact that building sustainable cities and making that kind of investment is something that goes very much hand in hand with promoting productivity and growth in cities.
Sure, and first of all, thanks for the invite to Shell. I think it's a fantastic event, and as you said, I was actually surprised. In the first session, we haven't heard much about the economy, and we are, in fact, at a crossroad. We heard a lot about the trends on urbanization, and we are on the crossroads in terms of what kind of economic growth we will have in the future, and how cities can become and will become a sustainable powerhouse. So I'd like to talk a little bit based on the work we're doing at the World Resources Institute, focusing on these messages and diving a little bit deeper on the issue of sustainable mobility. But let's start with a big picture. We heard a lot about the trends from Jill and others, but the other big trend is around the motorization. Will we end up in 2050 with 3 billion vehicles globally? And what are the consequences out of that for the planet? And here you see, again, the global picture. We want to move, and we heard that from the ambassador this morning, towards a 2-degree target. And we need for that 80% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. And here the message and the potential UNEP sees at least 10 to 15% has to come out of transportation. So if we can't tackle transport, we can't tackle climate change. But there's some good news. Here's some scenario work from the International Energy Agency saying if we reduce the vehicle kilometers, so the amount of vehicle travel, by just 1/4, we can, in fact, contribute from transport and meet the 2-degree target. But the even better news is we can save $20 trillion in terms of less infrastructure investment we need. But let's be honest, when we're here in Manila and many other cities around the world, yes, the big picture and the planet is important, but what really is important is about the people on the ground. What do I care about versus the big picture? But I care about versus the congestion, the problems we're facing every day. And that costs the economy a lot of money. So we say around 2 to 5% of loss in GDP through congestion. We care about people's life, and already more than half of the global fatalities through road accidents are in fact in cities, and it's often the most vulnerable one who are affected, the pedestrians. And we care about, and we heard the challenges from Glenn earlier on air pollution and other problems. So how do we go from here to here? And I must say I liked when the opening picture from this conference. It's all about people. So we have to put back people in the focus of our thinking, of our planning. And that's vital when we think about this as the future of our cities, about the quality of life and for everybody. So there is some work. We are involved together with the London School of Economics, with Lord Stern and others, which is called the New Climate Economy. And here the key message out of this report is, in fact, we can achieve economic growth and we can have a low-carbon resilient pathway. And this is important to bring together. It's never just mitigation on its own. It's never just adaptation. It's about bringing this together and getting also the message right. So for cities, that means we need to have connected cities, so better integrated public transit. We need compact cities, but getting the right compactness. We're adding 2.5 billion people to the urban space in the next 35 years. So how we create and extend our cities will heavily influence how people will travel, what kind of infrastructure we can provide. And here is an opportunity to get this right. And it needs to be coordinated, and we heard before the importance of strong governance, on leadership, on integration. So giving one example out of the research is in fact comparing Houston with Copenhagen. Similar population, but Houston 4 times more land use and suburban, and this influences heavily how people travel, 95% with cars. Copenhagen, we have 50% people using public transit. But again, the message here, and interesting, the cost of GDP in Houston is 3 times higher than Copenhagen. So we have a choice when we talk about the future of the city, is do we want another Houston or do we want another Copenhagen and getting it right? And here the new climate economy came up. If we get this right and do it compact and connected, we can save $3 trillion by 2013 to do it right, to do it compact and coordinated. But we have to acknowledge every city is different. We don't have just the silver bullet. And we have to go through the process of analysis everywhere again and again. But there are some principles. So let me share just some brief ideas what happened around the world, and some we have been involved. So let's take Brazil, Curitiba in 1960. And the mayor there had a vision saying, we getting urbanized, but let's plan it in a way that we have strong transit corridors, high quality public transit, and also have a high density around our transit hubs with the right accessibility, which was then called transit-oriented development, and have a good bus rapid transit, which you can see in the middle, which is 10 times more cost-effective than building a metro, and 3 times faster. So we have seen in the last 10 years a huge shift in the future of Seoul. We had a mayor saying we want to create a city for people and not for cars, demolishing 20 inner city highways and saying we recreate our city, we're providing us as a public space and enable here the white space also for our economy, make it a livable city again. And there are many other examples around the world here. Guadalajara, just one of 180 systems which were set up on bus rapid transit. So high quality services, which then allowed a far higher use of road capacity, 3 times higher, in fact, than just also the situation beforehand. So thinking about how we can also use our existing space much better and much more efficient. And finally, what we have seen in the last 10 years, with new technologies coming up, new solutions beyond the conventional one, sharing economies around sharing a car, sharing a bike, having new ideas around the information, people using their phones, how to get from A to B, and that will be a game changer. But again, every city has to look what is its right mix. China is becoming, in fact, potentially again also a city for bikes. Hangzhou is the largest bike sharing provider with 80,000 bikes. And there are many, many more examples. So we have to bring this together to have the right vision. And we need, again, a better planning around that to think about all these options, how that works for my city. So to sum up, and to contribute here to the discussion, we will hopefully have just some thoughts of how we achieve the compact, connected, and coordinated city. We have to work better on enabling institutions to work together, to have the right vision, to work between urban and transport as many of those nexuses. We have to enable cities to manage their finance, access the right resources from national and international government. Here we can talk a lot about this credit rating, etc. And there's an opportunity with technology on new open data, and that will allow far better to manage our city in the future. So With that, thanks for the attention and looking forward for the discussion.
We'll definitely get into those 3 key points, what it takes to bring about a more sustainable city, institutions, the financing of it, all that's very important. But I think the fundamental message from you there is how cities can really manage growth to reap the economic benefits and the cost savings from making the right investments. So that $3 trillion figure is quite remarkable.